Hi YouTube and fellow Doctor Who fans, it's me, I'm back again, and this time I am going to be continuing from where I left off in my last video with my review on the Trial of the Time Lord DVD box set. And this is part 2 of this video. Getting right into it with the second episode called MindWarp. And this one basically continues off from where the first episode, The Mysterious Planet, left off. I've actually watched this episode before. First time I watched it, I wasn't very impressed with it. I didn't really like it. I found it very, very tiresome and very, very boring. But when I watched it for the second time, especially for you guys, I found it really, really enjoyable. I actually really, really liked it, especially because some of the characters right at the end, they improved dramatically. Their personalities evolved and increased, and you really, really loved them and you really warmed to them. So yeah, this is a PG for anyone who doesn't know our rating systems. That means parental guidance. Basically, if you've got children, you actually need to watch this before your children do to gauge whether this would be suitable for them to view. It has got some violent scenes in it, and it's a little bit scary in some places. But yeah, you have to judge whether your child is suitable to watch this. So yeah, Colin Baker was the Doctor between the years 1984 to 1986. Sorry, my mouth is a little bit dry. On the cover, you have the Doctor and Colin Baker. You have the Perry, his assistant, which is her last episode of the Doctor Who series. You have up here the Viking King, who has been experimented on with all these mind control experiments. He's also for anyone who's watched the Flash Gordon movie, he's the same guy who played as the leader of the Hawkmen. So yeah, he's really, really good, but he's really over the top. He's completely over the top in this episode. Right at the bottom you have Syl, who last appeared in Vengeance on Varos, an episode which I have got to tell you guys about because it's my favourite Colin Baker story ever. And you have next to him one of Syl's own species friends. You have the spine, which is very plain. Back, you have a series of images from the story. You have a brief description of the story itself, and you have a list of special features. For anyone who wants to know, this episode was originally broadcast between the 4th of October to the 25th of October 1986. If you open it up, you have a booklet, but it has got spoilers in it. It does quite clearly say spoiler alert right at the top, so I would recommend that you watch the episode before you read this, because it actually might give stuff away. And you have this there, which looks good, but it's kind of average for a Doctor Who disc. So yeah, the story. The Doctor and Perry land on this mysterious alien planet with green skies, pink oceans and blue rocks. And the Doctor finds out that he's actually landed on Syl's home planet. And they start to explore their environment, and they soon discover these strange laboratories underground, and where Syl is experimenting on the Viking King, and where he's been put into this machine, and he's been forced to take part in all these mind-altering experiments. And the Doctor tries to break this up and interfere with it, but in doing so, Syl experiments on the Doctor, and this results in the Doctor being strange, or even stranger than he already is. And his behaviour is really, really weird. He turns his back on Perry and wants nothing else to actually do with her. And he even joins forces with Syl and actually tries to help him out with whatever he's actually doing. Perry escapes with the Viking King, who soon finds one of his friends, who's been turned into a wolf by Syl. In Vengeance on Varos, Perry was turned into a animal rather. Sorry, I've got such a dry mouth. I actually don't know why Syl turns people into animals. I don't know whether he's got some sort of fetish for it. But yeah, it wasn't really explained in the episode why this man was turned into a wolf. But if it did, I wasn't paying attention. So yeah, Perry is trying to help the Doctor because he's acting really strangely, and Perry just wants to save him. And she tries to convince the Viking King, who is pretty much like a Klingon. He's very, very big into honor and bravery and dying like a hero, and war and battle. And when Perry tells him that he must help her try to save the Doctor, he says, "But why should I help him out? He is my enemy." But when Perry tries to convince him, he says, "Right, okay. Even though he is my enemy, I will help him." Even though he doesn't really understand it right at the time. And as the story continues, we find out that the reason why Syl was doing all these weird experiments is because his friend is dying. I'm actually pretty sure he's dying, and he wants to swap his body, and he wants to change his body to actually survive. The ending for this episode is amazing. Perry has got the most right at the top of my head, she's got the second most tragic ending for a Doctor Who companion that I can actually think of. And it's actually really, really, really touching about the moment between Perry and the Viking King, where she's expressing that she misses her life on Earth, and the concept between life and death and love, which is a very new emotion for the King to actually get his head round. But when Perry expresses the concept of love to him, he soon realizes that he is actually falling in love with Perry, and that moment is very, very touching and very intimate and very good for this episode. And it was such a good episode and scene. It really made this episode. Back in the courtroom, the Valeyard is hell-bent on convincing his fellow Time Lords that the Doctor is a childish Time Lord and fellow, and that he is hell-bent on destroying all these civilizations by messing with their history and changing everything about these worlds. That is the Valeyard's only reason to actually be in this story. So yeah, I mean, they actually argue with each other constantly, and they're actually like two arguing children, but they do it so well, and the judge is like in the middle, and she's like the parent that she has to separate these two arguing kids. I do slightly prefer the scenes in the courtroom more than the actual episode, but that's just me. There is aspects of the storyline itself that I do love, and there's some of it which I don't really like. I actually do recommend that you go and watch this episode. It won't be for everyone though. You will either love this episode or you won't like this episode. I will probably give it a 6 out of 10. Let's have a look at the special features before I close. Obviously, it's got a making of. Every Doctor Who episode has got a making of in it, and it is really, really good. It's got a now and then for the locations of the stories. I would actually recommend that you watch that after you watched every single last episode, because it mentions scenes and locations from all the stories, not just MindWarp. So if you've only got up to MindWarp and you haven't watched anything else from this box set, and you watch that special feature, it will give stuff away, and it will spoil stuff for you. So yeah, leave that right until the end. But you can watch the making of this episode. A Fate Worse Than Death. tells you again, I would watch that after you watched everything else. That tells you the true ending for Perry, which they change right at the end. And it's got a Children in Need little clip as well, which lasts for about 10 minutes. It has cast from the shows past, such as the Sarah Jane Smith and the Brigadier, and it also has Patrick Troughton, it's got Sean Pertwee, it's got Pete Davidson, or obviously Colin Baker, and they all came out right out of the TARDIS. It's amazing. So yeah, that's my review on MindWarp. Next week sometime next week I will be talking about the third episode, which I look forward to actually talking to you guys about. Again, if you guys want me to actually mention anything else about these stories, or if there's any other episode that you want me to talk about, or if you have got any recommendations, or if you just want me to talk about anything different, please specify in the comments below. I'm open to anything that you guys want me to actually talk about, and I hope you really enjoyed watching this as much as I have actually enjoyed talking about it, or actually tried talking about it, because I've got this bloody stutter. But yeah, I hope you guys have had fun watching it. That's all I aim to do, is to please my viewers. So yeah, I will see you guys next week for part 3 of my Time Lord DVD box set. Okay, see you guys. Bye.